My parents said, "We spent 95% of your savings to buy your sister's house." My sister scoffed, "You don't have a penny left." But I burst out laughing because they had no idea what those savings were. There are moments in life when you have to test the people you love the most, when you need to know if you can trust them or if they just see you as a convenient resource. I'm 28 years old, and I'm a regional manager for a major retail chain. It's a position I earned after years of hard work, sacrifice, and climbing the ladder from a salesperson to my current role. I make good money every month, an excellent salary that allows me to live very comfortably, but my family doesn't know that. I never told them. I live with my parents, Robert and Diana, aged 55 and 52, respectively, and my younger sister, Melissa, who is 25, in a rented 3-bedroom house in Portland. I've been paying for everything since I got my first decent job 5 years ago. My parents work, but in part-time jobs that barely cover their personal expenses. My mother works as a salesperson in a boutique. My father is an administrative assistant in a small office, and my sister Melissa doesn't work. She graduated from college with a degree in business administration, but according to her, she's waiting for the right opportunity. Meanwhile, she lives off my money without contributing a single thing. For years, I've been the silent provider for the family. I pay the rent, the utilities, the food. But I've always felt something was missing. Respect, appreciation, genuine gratitude. Instead, I'd get comments like, "I wish you earned more so we could move to a better house." Or, "Why can't you buy us a car?" Or Melissa's favorite, "If you were truly successful, we'd have our own house by now." 6 months ago, I decided to conduct an experiment, a test to see if my family truly valued me or if they just saw me as a walking wallet. I went to the bank and opened a new debit account. I deposited $10,000 into that account. $10,000 that represented exactly 1% of my actual savings, which were in other accounts my family knew nothing about. I had over $1 million in savings and investments accumulated over years of earning well and living modestly. But they didn't know that. I never told them how much I really earned. I always told them I was a sales assistant, making just enough each month to cover the household expenses, with a little extra. Then, at a family dinner, I handed them the debit card linked to that $10,000. "What's this?" my father asked, looking at the card. "It's a card with all my savings," I lied. "It's $10,000. I've been saving it for years. I want you to use it to pay the household bills, the rent, utilities, food. That way I don't have to be transferring money all the time." I saw their eyes light up when they heard $10,000. $10,000, my mother repeated. "That's a lot of money. Are you sure you want to entrust us with your entire account?" "You're my family," I said, watching their reactions carefully. "I trust you. Just use it for household things. Nothing else." "Of course," my father said, taking the card. "Just for the house. You can trust us." Melissa said nothing, but I saw the smirk on her face, and something about that smirk made me nervous. For the first 2 months, everything seemed normal. I checked the account balance regularly. I saw payments for rent, utilities, grocery shopping, all legitimate. I started to think that maybe I had been too suspicious, that my family really was trustworthy. But in the 3rd month, things changed. I started noticing large withdrawals, $500 here, $800 there, purchases at expensive clothing stores, dinners at fancy restaurants. Clearly, these were not household expenses. But I said nothing. I kept watching, kept waiting. By the 5th month, The balance had dropped from $10,000 to $5,000. They had spent $5,000 in 5 months when the household bills amounted to much less than what they were spending. They were clearly using my money for their own luxuries. And then the day came that changed everything. It was a Sunday afternoon. I was in my room when I heard my family gathered in the living room. There was excitement in their voices. Curious, I went out to see what was happening. "Come, we have wonderful news," my mother called me with a huge smile. I sat on the sofa, mentally preparing myself for what was coming. "Son," my father began, "we've made an important decision for the family." "What decision?" I asked. "We bought a house," Melissa announced proudly. "Well, we made the down payment on a house, a beautiful 3-bedroom house. It's for Melissa," my mother added. "It's about time she had her own place. She's an adult. She needs her independence." I felt my heart start to beat faster. "And how did you pay for it?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. There was an awkward silence. Then my father spoke. "We used the money from your card," he said. "We spent 95% of your savings to pay the down payment. It was $4,250, but it was worth it. Your sister has a house now." I just sat there processing what I had just heard. They had spent practically all the money I entrusted to them. Money I told them was all of my savings to buy a house for Melissa. Melissa laughed. A cruel, mocking laugh. "You don't have a penny left, brother. But you should be happy for me. I finally have my own house. Well, I will have my own house once we finish paying the mortgage in 20 years. "And that's the other news," my mother said, smiling. "We're going to move in with Melissa to her new house. The 3 of us, your father, me, and Melissa. It'll be perfect. More space. Sure, the neighborhood is a bit rough, but a house is a house." They had spent the money on a house located in one of the worst neighborhoods in the city. I couldn't believe it. "And me?" I asked.
"Well," my father said, looking at me uncomfortably, "the house only has 3 bedrooms, and frankly, son, we don't need you anymore. Melissa has her house. We have a place to live now. You can find your own place. It's time for you to be independent anyway. Of course, just keep sending the money for the bills, and now add the mortgage for your sister's house to that." I sat there looking at them, expecting to feel pain, betrayal, sadness. But instead I felt something completely different. Relief. Because now I knew the truth. I knew exactly who they were. And the test had worked perfectly. And then I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. I started laughing hard. So hard my stomach hurt. The 3 of them looked at me as if I had gone crazy. "What are you laughing at?" Melissa asked, annoyed. "We just spent all your savings and we're kicking you out. What's so funny?" "It's just," I said between laughs. "It's perfect. Absolutely perfect." I couldn't have asked for a better outcome. "What?" my father asked, confused. I stood up, wiping away tears of laughter. "Let me tell you something. That $10,000 I gave you, those savings you just spent on Melissa's house, that was only 1% of my actual savings." The silence that followed was absolute. "What?" my mother whispered. 1%, I repeated, savoring every second of it. "I have $1 million in savings and investments. $1 million. And that $10,000 was just a test." "No, I don't understand," my father stammered. "Let me explain," I said, walking towards the window. "You see, I'm not a sales assistant. I'm a regional manager for a major retail chain. I make a lot of money every month. I've been earning it for years, and I've been saving and investing it wisely." I watched as their faces changed from confusion to understanding to pure horror. I gave you that $10,000 as a test, I continued. I specifically told you it was all my savings and to only use it for household bills.
I wanted to see if I could trust you, if you valued me, if you respected my boundaries. And you failed, I said, turning to face them spectacularly. Not only did you use my money for personal things, but you spent 95% of it on a house for Melissa without even asking me. And then you had the audacity to kick me out because you didn't need me anymore. We didn't know, my father began. Exactly, I interrupted him. You didn't know. You didn't know I have $1 million. You didn't know I'm a manager. You didn't know anything about me because you never bothered to ask. You just assumed I was your perpetual cash cow. We're sorry, my mother said, standing up. If we had known you were a manager, that you had so much money, we never would have... Never would have what? I asked. Never would have spent my money? Never would have kicked me out? The point is, you did it. You did it believing you had left me with nothing. You kicked me out thinking you had taken all my savings. That is what this reveals about you. Melissa was pale. Brother, I didn't mean those things. I was joking about kicking you out. You weren't joking, I said firmly. You were celebrating. Celebrating that you had finally gotten rid of the brother who supported you for years, without ever getting a thank you. What are you going to do? My father asked, his voice trembling. Exactly what you wanted, I said with a smile. I'm leaving. I'm going to find my own place. In fact, I've already found it. I bought a penthouse last week. It's fully furnished and ready. I'm moving out tomorrow. You bought a penthouse, my mother repeated, incredulous. Yes, I confirmed. A nice one. City view. 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, modern kitchen. It cost $250,000. I paid for it in cash. The three of them just stood there, their jaws dropped. So, congratulations, Melissa, I said, looking at my sister. You have your new house, although you only made a $4,750 down payment, and now you have to pay the mortgage for the next 20 years. I hope you have a plan to pay for it because I'm not contributing a single cent. Wait, Melissa said, the panic now clear in her voice. The monthly payments are $200. I don't have a job. I thought that you would help us. Why would you think that? I asked. After you just kicked me out and told me you don't need me anymore? Because you're our son, my mother said. Because we're family. A family that used me as a bank for years, I said. A family that spent my money without permission. A family that kicked me out as soon as they thought I was no longer useful. No, thank you. You three can be a family amongst yourselves. I am no longer part of this equation. Please, my father begged. We can't afford that mortgage without your help. That's not my problem, I said. You should have thought of that before buying a house you can't afford, before spending money that wasn't yours, before betraying my trust. I went to my room and started packing my things. I could hear their voices in the living room arguing, panicking, trying to find a solution. But it wasn't my problem. Not anymore. The next day, I moved into my penthouse. It was beautiful, modern, and most importantly, it was mine, completely mine. For a week, I had peace, blessed silence. No one asking me for money, no one expecting me to pay their bills, just me living my life on my terms. But then the calls started. First, it was my mother. Please, we need to talk. We made a terrible mistake. Forgive us. I blocked her number. Then my father. Son, I know you're upset, but you can't abandon your family like this. We need you. Blocked. Melissa, was the most persistent. She called from different numbers, sent messages, even showed up in my building's lobby, but security wouldn't let her up. A month after I moved out, I finally answered one of her calls just to make things clear.
"What do you want, Melissa?" I asked, my voice tired. "Brother, please," she begged, and I could hear tears in her voice. "We need your help. The first mortgage payment is due in 3 days, and we don't have the money. It's $200. Please help us just this once." "No," I said simply. "Please," she cried. "If we don't pay, the bank is going to start the foreclosure process. We're going to lose the house." "You should have thought of that," I said, "before you bought a house you couldn't afford with money you stole." "We didn't steal it," she protested weakly. "You spent it without permission on something it wasn't intended for," I said. "That's theft. And on top of that, you kicked me out. So, no, I'm not helping. Figure it out yourselves." "You're selfish," she screamed. "A horrible brother, you always were. And you were always a family that only valued me for my money," I replied calmly. "At least now I'm free of that. Goodbye, Melissa." And I hung up. I blocked that number too. My father tried to contact me through a work colleague. The message was the same. They needed money, the mortgage. Please help. My answer was the same. No. 2 months after I moved out, I received a call from a cousin, Daniel, who still spoke to me. "I don't know if you know," he said, his voice serious, "but the bank foreclosed on Melissa's house. They auctioned it off last week." "I see," I said, not surprised. "Your parents and Melissa are living in a small room now. The 3 of them in a single room they rent for $400 a month. Your mother and father had to get second jobs. Melissa finally got a job as a cashier at a supermarket." "Thanks for telling me," I said. "Aren't you going to help them?" Daniel asked. "No," I replied. "They created this situation. They can solve it." "They're your family," Daniel insisted. "A family values me, respects me, appreciates me," I said. "They only saw me as money. So no, they are not my family. Not anymore." Daniel sighed but didn't press the issue further. Today, 4 months after moving out, I am living my best life. My penthouse is my sanctuary. I work hard at my job as a manager, but now all my money is for me. I invest, I travel, I enjoy myself. Occasionally, I hear information about my family through cousins or mutual acquaintances. I know they're struggling. I know the 3 of them work long hours at jobs they probably despise. I know they live in very cramped conditions compared to what they had when I was supporting them. Do I feel bad? Sometimes. They are my parents and my sister after all. But then I remember that day. I remember how they spent money they thought was everything I had. I remember how they kicked me out, without remorse, when they believed I was no longer useful. I remember Melissa's laugh when she said, "You don't have a penny left." And the feeling of guilt disappears because I learned something valuable from this experience. People show you who they really are when they think there are no consequences, when they think they have the power. My family showed exactly who they were, and now they are living with the consequences of their actions. Meanwhile, I am free. Free from being used, free from being taken for granted, free to live my life for myself. And that freedom, honestly, is priceless. I thought this was all over, but something happened. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was in my office reviewing sales reports when my assistant, Caroline, knocked on the door with an uncomfortable expression. "Mr. Hayes," she said, using my formal surname as she always did at the office. There are 3 people in reception who claim to be your family. They're asking to see you. They say it's urgent. My heart sank. I knew exactly who they were. Tell them I'm not available, I said, turning my attention back to my computer. I already did, Caroline said, biting her lip. But they're causing a scene.
They say they won't leave until they speak with you. The receptionist is trying to handle the situation, but they're being very insistent. I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. Of course they were causing a scene. Of course they couldn't just accept my decision and move on. All right, I said, standing up. I'll go down and speak with them, but call security and ask them to be on standby in case I need them. Understood, sir, Caroline said, quickly leaving. I took the elevator down to the lobby. When the doors opened, I saw them immediately. My parents and Melissa were standing near the reception desk. They looked terrible. My mother's hair was unkempt, and her clothes had clearly seen better days. My father looked thinner, older, stooped as if carrying the weight of the world. And Melissa, my sister, who had always been so vain about her appearance, was wearing a supermarket work uniform and worn-out sneakers. They saw me and their faces lit up with a mixture of relief and desperation. Talk, I said. You have 2 minutes. My mother started first, tears already streaming down her cheeks. Son, we came to ask for your forgiveness. What we did was unforgivable. We spent your money without permission. We kicked you out of the house. We treated you horribly. We were wrong. So wrong. And we deeply regret it. My father added, every day we regret our actions. Please, we need your forgiveness. I looked at them in silence, waiting, because I knew there was something more. There was always something more with them. Melissa cleared her throat. And we also need your help. There it was. The room where we live, Melissa continued, not meeting my eyes. It's horrible, tiny, dirty, and a dangerous neighborhood. The 3 of us share a single room, a single bathroom. It's humiliating. And we work so hard, my mother said. Your father has 2 jobs now. I work all day. Melissa too.
And we still barely make enough for that awful room and basic food. So we came to ask you, my father said, finally getting to the point, to let us stay with you in your penthouse. We know it has 2 bedrooms. We can take one, Melissa the other. We won't bother you. We just need a decent place to live. I just stood there, processing what they had just asked. After everything they had done, after spending my money, kicking me out, treating me like trash, now they wanted to live in my penthouse, the penthouse I bought with my money, that I pay for with my work, that is my personal sanctuary. The audacity was astounding. No, I said simply. What? Melissa asked, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. No, I repeated. You are not going to live in my penthouse. You are not going to live with me. You are not going to be a part of my life in any way. But we're your family, my mother protested. No, I said, feeling years of repressed anger start to surface. A family doesn't spend their son's savings without permission. A family doesn't kick their son out onto the street thinking they've left him with nothing. A family doesn't laugh while telling him, "You don't have a penny left." We were wrong, my mother sobbed. We already admitted it. What more do you want? I want you to leave, I said. I want you to leave me alone. I want to live my life without being your personal bank, without being your backup plan when things get tough. I opened the door and called security. 2 security guards appeared immediately. Caroline had followed my request to have them ready. Please escort these 3 people out of the building, I said in a professional voice, and make sure to inform reception that they are not to be allowed back under any circumstances. Yes, sir, one of the guards said. No, Melissa screamed. You can't do this. I can and I am, I said, turning to them one last time. 5 months of living in that horrible room and you still don't get it? I didn't come to rescue you when you lost the house. I didn't answer your calls when you begged for money. What made you think I would let you live with me? Because we're family, my father said desperately as the guards began to escort them away. Family helps each other. Family respects each other, I countered. Family values each other. Family doesn't use and discard each other. You are not my family. You are just people who shared my blood and my roof as long as it was convenient for you. Those were the last words I said to them. The guards removed them from the building as they shouted, cried, and begged. Part of me felt bad. They were my parents, my sister. I had seen them broken, desperate, pleading, but the larger part of me, the part that had carried their weight for years, the part that had been used and discarded, felt only relief. I held my ground. I didn't give in, didn't let them manipulate me with tears and pleas, and now they knew with absolute certainty that I was never going to rescue them. They had to figure it out on their own. It was cruel, perhaps, but they were cruel first, when they kicked me out believing they had left me with nothing. When they laughed at my supposed misery, when they discarded me like trash. This was simply the natural consequence of their own actions. And finally, I am truly free. Free from the guilt, free from the obligation, free from being used. My family can call it cruelty. They can call it abandonment. They can call it whatever they want. I call it justice, and I call it freedom. And I wouldn't trade this freedom for anything in the world.